Happy holidays, everyone. Hope your breaks are going well if you're on them. If not, and you're powering through the holidays, also hope that you are doing well. I wanted to drop in and talk about the psychiatry rotation if you haven't yet taken it, if you're looking forward to it, and what I experienced during my psych rotation, and also talk about how I prepared for the shelf. Again, psychiatry is a relatively easier shelf, not easy by any means, but still it's a relatively less strenuous shelf compared to others in my experience and based on what others have said. And that being said, I did end up honoring the shelf, so I'll give you some tips on what I did as far as my studying and how I attacked the world and everything for the 6 weeks that we had as an SGU student. Again, some people may have a little bit different rotations depending on the school that you're going to. I am rotating in Chicago. If you haven't watched my other videos and know my background, I will not be saying which hospital I am rotating at for security purposes, but we do get treated like residents where we're rotating. So we're responsible pretty much for everything. We're responsible for the entire interview, the physical exams, developing a plan, developing what meds we may or may not want to give the patient. Even though we can't prescribe them, these are the things that we're bringing up to our attending for him to say yay or nay on, him or her to say yes or no on. So first things first, I'm going to start talking about the psychiatry rotation in general. So psychiatry is something that I knew I absolutely did not want to go into. I was not looking forward to the psychiatry rotation whatsoever. So I was a little bit nervous, especially seeing the psych floor at my current hospital where we're at. It's just not a place that I feel very comfortable. It's not a place that I get excited to go to. But all in all, I still treat it like every other rotation. If it's a rotation that I want, if it's a rotation that I don't want, I act the exact same way. So showing up, making sure that you're willing to learn, making sure that you're enthusiastic about learning, asking questions, really getting to know your patients and the cases that you're presented with is not only going to help you develop and to be a better physician and a better medical student during our time right now, but it's also substantially going to help you on the shelf. I notice that when I'm paying attention in my rotations and I'm asking questions and I'm actively engaging not only with the attending but with my patients, the nurses, and pretty much everyone around me, I end up going to UWorld and I'm reading through the vignette and then the scenario from the hospital will pop in my head because I know the exact answer. And this doesn't just come from the rotation, it also comes from talking with your peers. I love learning from my peers. I am not the smartest person by means, so I really love absorbing information from peers in my group that I look up to and I see to be able to teach me in ways that I can understand. So that's the first tip I have. I think the second tip, going into psychiatry, just be safe. Don't ever let your guard down on the rotation. Just be aware of your surroundings. Always make sure that you have a very good view of your surroundings. Never let your back kind of be open. Never allow yourself the opportunity to become physically violent with a patient or have the opportunity for that to occur. So just be aware of your surroundings. It's nothing to be crazy scared about, but just going in with that mindset of, okay, I just do need to have my guard up a little bit because anything can happen at any time and patients can switch at any time, especially on this rotation. Another big thing is, ladies, if you do have longer hair like mine, I always suggest pulling it back or keeping it in a bun, something that people can't grab very easily. And then always making sure to keep pens if you can and phones inside coat pockets. We had to wear professional wear and our white coats, so it's pretty easy for me to keep things within my coat pockets on the inside so nobody could grab those out. And just really make sure that, again, apart from being safe, really make sure you're listening to your patients on psych rotation. I know it's a little bit tougher. It's a little bit tougher to get your full physical evaluation and your full interview and a good history, but sometimes just really talking with the patient a little bit will continue to give you better information down the line because they can be going and going and going and then ding, something is going to hit in that interview. You're like, okay, I didn't know about this. Another advice is if your attending lets you, again, with the permission of your attending, talk to the family. Talk about any history that they may have surrounding why they are an inpatient currently. And I say that because specifically my rotation, I did not have the outpatient psych experience. So I think that's one thing that anyone who's wanting to go into psych specifically, make sure that you get both the inpatient and outpatient setting. I was only allowed inpatient in the hospital, but I feel you really do need to have a well-rounded understanding because inpatient is completely different than the outpatient experience just based on, one, what I was hearing from my attending, and two, people in my group who really wanted to go into psychiatry and have worked in outpatient and just kind of telling me the differences of those. So those are the main things that I would say stuck out to me during the psychiatry rotation. So now I want to move on to the shelf tips. I actually still have a little bit of my whiteboard up behind me. I haven't erased it yet. But day 1, it's a 6-week rotation, so you have to hit the ground running. There's no other option. The thing I did was I busted through all of my UWorld within the first 2 weeks, so I had plenty of time to see those questions again. So I really got through UWorld almost 2 times, so 1.5 times. Second thing, focusing on pharmacology. I was always very, very bad at pharmacology, and I ended up picking up the First Aid for Psych book. Somebody gave me a PDF copy, so we had those within our group, and I specifically went to the pharmacology section and printed that off to read. I just like things that are tangible. So the First Aid for Psychiatry book, I printed off the pharmacology, stapled those together, and just read through that front to back. It's only 20 pages, so it's a very easy read, and it just gives really, really good generic brand names, the side effects that you need to be paying attention to, just any little things. If you need to go through sketch again, do it. I just don't think you're going to have the time. I think sitting there and reading through that, and then I still reference First Aid for step 1 for psychiatry. I think it's great. I didn't unfortunately use it until the last 2 weeks, and I regret not starting it sooner. Definitely getting through those. If you feel you need outside resources, I recommend Amboss. But again, you have 6 weeks, so get through your UWorld right away. Make sure you have all of your pharmacology down and the side effects. And I do have some notes back here. I know it's kind of flipped on my camera, but some of the big things I struggled with is remembering the mechanisms of actions for a lot of these. If they're doing the serotonin or the dopamine, what are they blocking? What are they antagonizing or agonists of? And then things that stuck out, they're going to get confused between like buspirone or bupropion, making sure you know when to use those, making sure you know how to treat Tourette's and kind of the breakdown of those. So just really dig into your pharmacology and dig into knowing what illness or disorder is going to be treated with what first and second line. Second line has popped up a lot for me. They're going to want you to know a little bit more, I feel like, for the psych shelf, especially when I took it. You need to know those second line options as well. Highly, highly recommend going over drugs of abuse. Those are going to be big, big things. Drugs of abuse and birth defects that can happen from those, and your trinucleotide repeat expansion disorders, high yield. Know what signs to look for in both intoxication and withdrawal, and what are we going to treat it with. Know what to use the benzos for, the beta blockers for. Just go through and run down every single one of those, and you're going to be in great shape for the psych shelf. Again, I ended up honoring it. I wasn't expecting to do that. I'm not a good test taker, but I feel like what really got me ahead and pushed me to the point from the high pass to getting that honors was really getting these psych things down for pharmacology. I think that was very, very big help. And knowing the last thing I want to touch on, because I know it's a lot of information, but you will see schizophrenia versus schizoaffective. Make sure you have those down. Those are themes that I saw pop up a lot in UWorld and in the testing situations. Make sure you're knowing the difference between those. Again, as always, as I end all of my videos, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. I am so excited for you guys to do another rotation. I'm going to be headed to pediatrics in about 4 days. So again, I will let you know how that goes. Hopefully wish me well, and we will be tackling another shelf and moving along and doing great on that. High hopes for that. And feel free, again, contact me, drop a comment below, like and subscribe. I appreciate all of you guys watching, and enjoy the rest of the holiday season.